Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining this panel. Today, the topic of this panel is how women drive ESG innovative practices. So we're very delighted that we can have three guests today. All of them are specialists in ESG. Or maybe let me introduce them one by one. The first one is Dr. Li Ting. She is the co-founder of RMI's Beijing office and acts as the chief representative and managing director. And she also leads a team which conducts key research, explores effective market-based solutions, and promotes on-the-ground demonstrations in major energy transition areas, such as power industry, building, transportation, and rural decarbonization. And our second guest is Ms. Didi Chao, and she's a senior profession in the field of philanthropy and social welfare. She worked for the United Nations, Phoenix TV, WANG Foundation, and China Global Philanthropy Institute. And she was the former member of UN SDG Action Campaign, promoted the SDGs by building partnership with local governments. And she was also the Deputy Secretary General of the WANG Foundation, the first private-owned public foundation in China. And our third guest is Ms. Karen Wang. She serves as the CEO and founder of Climind, which is a data as a service platform that delivers actionable climate data infrastructure through AI technologies to facilitate mitigation and adaptation solutions. So let's start our panel discussion today. And of course, our topic will focus on ESG. So maybe I first start with Dr. Li first. So as we all know that RMI is an independent global non-profit organization focusing on finding technical and also economic solutions in China. So can you let us know more about what initiatives that RMI are now doing in China?
Well, thank you so much, Melissa. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's such a pleasure for me to be here, and thanks for the organizer of Shiro for this very unique, special discussion among all the super female leaders in the area. And also, it's a pleasure for RMI, Rocky Mountain Institute, to be here. As you probably can see our logo, we are the co-organizer, such a great partner with Jason, host team, and co-organize this Beyond Tech, especially on the climate tech theme. And this is actually the second year, but actually we are, as you said, a non-profit and non-profit think tank institutes who believes that our mission is to help the world, effectively address climate change, to accelerate energy transition towards a clean, prosperous, safe, and a better world for all. So we currently we have contributed and involved in the implementation kind of work across the world, more than 60 countries. And when it comes to the work in China, and as for geography and China in terms of climate change is no doubt one of the critical geographies across the world. And China has still the biggest emissions. 1/3 of the total are emitted from China. But also we has been in the past decades the leading investors in clean energy in the past dozen years. Right, and also you all know we have so much wonderful fancy EV models when you can at the entrance of this exhibit, including Tesla, who has the biggest factory in China as well. So China is no doubt the biggest EV markets. So we have so many strengths and no doubt so many progress in China. But obviously, we have so much until a lot of things to do to continue to facilitate both the government, policymakers, and also the business people and all the stakeholders to try to help them to achieve both the national level ambitious climate targets and their own, business level ESG or climate or zero carbon neutrality goals as well. But we are pretty much market-driven, solution-based, so to try to not only, try to build a bridge between the policies and the market and also academic, and also try to enhance our ambitious targets, as well as how to, at a practical level, how to explore further effective solutions through, ambitious target setting combined with scenario forecasting and also cost-effective analysis, etc. So currently in China, we have a deep dive. I saw my team and my boss as well, just sitting over there supporting my presence today. But indeed, we have a very strong and smart and brilliant team in China working with all the stakeholders. So currently, we were able to deep dive in all the sectors, all the energy-related sectors. You name it, from power, from industry, from demand side, transportation, building, even the rural and agriculture sectors, CO2 and non-CO2. All the sectors. So not only with the research reports, roadmap analysis, but also provided with recommendations to various stakeholders, and also jointly explore the solutions to try to accelerate the on the ground implementation. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, so as RMI drives so many different initiatives across different industries. So in your opinion, what are the key challenges faced by those companies, and actually which sector or which industry face the most difficulty?
Yeah, that's when it comes to challenges or the gaps. When it comes to climate change, I believe it is not just the heavy industry or the long distance transportation. They have a name for those you are probably know about this. They had a name of a hard to abate industry, meaning that those are the very carbon intensive sectors like the steel, cements, chemistry, etc. But I also believe that almost all the sectors are facing, tremendous challenges. This is not just those hard to abate industry, like the heavy industry, almost, all the sectors. And the gaps, remains still majorly in technology, because we are tech ex-hip, right? We have a lot of starters and the companies showing the very much amazing advanced tech on achieve zero carbon, in helping achieving zero carbon as well. But still, tech is one of the the major area. For example, when it comes to technology, 1/3 of technology are probably more available. So such as energy efficiency, behavior change, etc. For those 1/3 technology, we don't need to have a fundamental power system change, a complete change. But the other 2/3 of technologies, if we want to achieve zero carbon, then probably we have massive infrastructure change, equipment change, which means that the investment gap between what we already have, and what we probably need, that is trillions, dozens, trillions, multiple trillion dollars, US dollars, what we're talking about. So there's a huge gap from now on and towards maybe the mid-century, that where we are aiming to achieve the carbon neutrality. So that is a gap of money, investment, and those kind of technologies, 2/3 of them that we still are facing to deep dive in a substantive CO2 emission reduction. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It seems that we really have a long way to go, as Dr. Lee mentioned, that we still have a big gap particularly in terms of technology advancement, and particularly in relation to the financing or finding funding for those innovations. So after talking about the different initiatives for different sectors, so let's just move to Didi. So Didi, as you have a diverse experience working on SDG, Sustainable Development Goal implementation. So can you share with us the current situation in China?
Of course. Thanks, Melissa. Hello, everyone. According to the UN report in 2023, and probably many of us as individuals has already experienced in recent years, the Agenda 2030 has already fallen behind due to economic cycles, conflicts, pandemic and post-pandemic, and many other issues. So if we stay at our current scale and pace, we are most likely not be able to achieve the SDGs on time by 2030. And among all these 17 Sustainable Development Goals, at this moment, inequality, women and children's rights, and climate change as the most challenging issues. And as far as I perceive, I can see that Chinese government has taken the most ambitious action to tackle inequality and carbon emission. And I think there are a few highlights of China's SDG strategies. First, I think technology has become a key engine of promoting SDG in China. Not just private companies, but also governments and nonprofit organizations have fully embraced the technology for social good. For example, to promote quality education, a middle school teacher in Beijing can easily set up a regular online courses with rural schools in Yunnan and Guizhou. In China, many high-tech softwares and hardwares are much less costly than many other places. And internet and smartphones are very easy to access by basically everybody. So I think it is very crucial in our era for this infrastructure are less costly because it is very important to reduce inequality in our times. And then secondly, I think a strong manufacturing capacity with clean energy really empowers China to achieve a sustainable growth, a long-term growth. We all understand that, no matter how strict the government regulations are, only the business world, the market, can, has those fundamental impact to reshape humans' behaviors. Chinese people are driving the largest amount of electric cars, not because of anything else, but simply because it's cheap and good, right? And my company, as another example, we started our trade-in of services and recycling old products a few years ago, simply because it's a win-win for both our consumers and our company. So I think a strong manufacturing provides a solid support to China's economic transformation toward SDGs. And also, I can see many diverse strategies in different cities in China. As we all know, China is a very big country, and different areas and regions has definitely different resources and priorities in terms of the 2030 agenda. But we are very impressed by many second-tier cities, such as Taizhou, Chongqing, Chengde, Taiyuan, and these cities have found their unique roadmap to the 2030 agenda, basically based on their own geographical features and local resources. So I think these are some of the valuable insights and experience that I found from China's SDG practice.
Oh, okay. After talking about Sustainable Development Goal (SDG), as we know that Didi is also a professional in the area of philanthropy and social welfare. So, can you comment on the development of China in this area, and what are the key challenges?
Thanks. When I participated in the social welfare field as a social worker major college student 20 years ago, I really didn't expect that the industry would grow so rapidly in such a short period of time. We in our industry, we basically see 2008, the Wenchuan earthquake, as the beginning of the modern civil society in China. And just in 16 years, this industry, this profession has evolved so much from, providing very basic and primitive services such as disaster relief, poverty alleviation, education, to nowadays we can see so many specialized fields and areas such as mental health, animal protection, literature, rural revitalization, and many, many more. And also, in the past, the major player in the field are nation-owned and public-owned foundation and charity organizations. But nowadays, we see thousands of private-owned, grassroots organizations, nonprofit organizations are working amazingly in the field. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, technology really empower the Chinese civil society to growth. Because, when I live in New York, I found many of my neighbors prefer to donate and participate in local charity programs in their own neighborhood and community because they can see it in their eyes. But in China, internet has become a very key gene in our modern charity industry. So cross-region donations and programs are very common seen and well developed. And also, thanks to the affordable technology and advanced digital infrastructure, money and resources can reach to those who in real needs much faster, more transparent, and more effectively. So, yeah, and last, I think philanthropy as an industry are always tightly bonded with economy. In the past, the key donor in China have shifted from entrepreneurs from Macau, from Hong Kong, Taiwan, and overseas to mainland real estate companies and financing companies. And then a couple of years ago, internet company joined the marathon. But at this moment, we really not sure, who will take over the torch under this current economic transformation. So yeah, thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Didi. So as you can see, both Dr. Lee and Didi mentioned about two words. One is technology, and the other one is money. That means funding. So actually, when we need to drive ESG, basically, definitely we need technology and funding. So so let's move to our third guest, Karen. Karen, because when we talk about technology, definitely we also need to talk about data. So Climate, your company is a data as a service startup that translates climate data into actionable business intelligence. So can you tell us more about your company and how can your solutions apply in the market?
Sure. Thank you so much, Melissa. And thank you so much for having me too. My name's Karen. Besides Climind, I also am part of the UN Envoy, Youth Envoy office, so quite a lot of work in SDGO as well, so sustainable development. But today, so we have a company, we're building technologies as mentioned previously. I want to start with a couple stories, and I gave an introduction of what we do. In one sentence is that we're building the ChatGPT for climate change. I believe Li Ting, RMI is the right user of the tools we're building. Was just chatting with John up the stage about how to use large language model in the climate. So story one, before Climind, I was doing climate finance research at Imperial College. It was not really fun experience. I recently finished my thesis on writing AI application on IPCC. So IPCC is an organization they publish the synthetic report for all the climate science and then make it into one to the policymakers, public-private sectors to make the decision. But guess how long it takes a report to get published? It's 5 years or more. It was not possible to include COVID into the scenario. It took so long. And then it's so basically the thesis is to describe, to explore what are the technical, non-technical parts of the process can be accelerated. But I use this example because climate science has been developed too slow, like we have right now. So we obviously need to accelerate it. And then the second story is about, in this, in Beyond, we talk a lot about computing, about AI. It comes with downside too. So we know it can do a lot of efficiency and it helps us to write and it helps to do this stuff. But the amount of electricity or greenhouse gas emission because of the computing we have today and we keep doing is enormous. It's pretty scary. So I give one example. Globally now, the amount of electricity we need to power to train large language model, it can be the supply equal to the New York City entirely. But moving forward, now we're just doing model training. We need more scenarios. So we build applications on top of different models. So for that predictable future, we need more electricity power to allow us to use the technology. It's actually quite I think scary thing to move forward. So I guess that's part of the reasons now tech giants start to talk about previously CSR, now ESG, or now green computing. So back to what we do. For now, so last month we have a user, we hit a 10K page view for the product. So quite surprising. So now we do a really straightforward thing is we empower people working in the climate field to use our tool to accelerate how they work, how they learn. In Chinese, we call the 受之语语. So we build a really professional GPT, climate version, gives you the citation of the answer it has. But moving forward, climate is a really complicated scenario, and then we're moving toward the sectors we can use the computing power to help, for example, a physical climate risk prediction, and then for example, in carbon market, for example, a voluntary carbon market. Now we have a demand, you need a lot of data to ensure the quality of the credits you're buying. So it goes down to a lot of paperwork to check the reports and collect information everywhere, different modules like a satellite, alternative source. And then our goal is to use computing to solve that. So yeah, so basically we're based in Hong Kong and then Beijing, but they were kind of serving the product globally. Now we have users in more than 30 countries.
So as everyone of us know that when we do climate risk assessment, that really involves a lot of data, which is backed up by climate science, I would say. So when using the climate data, so what are the key challenges and how can those companies overcome these challenges when using climate data?
It's a brilliant question. We talk about data is oil. It's an important component for things. It's same in climate change. I would say a couple. Let's say the opportunities first. I think instead of data, I think it's being able to use data is actually making the change for the sector, the private sector, to to be part of the climate solution. So, for example, like in the finance industry, I think the climate data traditionally might be just used in the commodity sector to predict the production. But now, a new like insurance company needs the data to build new product or to describe the physical transition risk. So I think this is absolutely like a new sector, new, and also creating new jobs. And also it's an exciting area, like attracting new talents. So that's the future. And then I'll say the second opportunity is climate is a global issue, but the solution has to be local. So the fact that we can leverage and then precisely make good use of data is reducing the cost of scaling the solution, like into mitigation, adaptation, and then so those are the good side. Challenges, like I can give concrete examples, like we projects that we did before, like finance industry again. It's an information industry. So for example, like in the sector of a rating company, it gives scores for the public company of ESG. So guess how they do it? They find the information from the news, from the disclosure, and then they get the information and then like use a methodology to create a score to give a rank to company. Entire process, it's not science. It's like half science, half art. So different rating agencies, they give you different scores. And then you cannot say which one is right. But I think coming from the background of doing statistics, most of the time it should be deployed to do the analyze part instead of like doing data scraping, doing collecting. So I think this is absolutely an efficiency challenge. So we recently did a project to help a rating company to just extract the information from the entire Hong Kong stock market's listed company, the different components from the ESG reports. It takes like a couple minutes. They used to take a few months. And I think that's a simple one. And I give another example, the difficult one. Like how we describe climate risk. I think that the entire conversation is we need to figure out a way we can price carbon right. Use a vehicle like we can price, we can illustrate the risk correctly, and then we can like create the market to have a market-driven to bring this private sector to be part of the climate solution, not just public. So in order to do that, you basically need to communicate how we approach a climate issue, and that's absolutely difficult. And then how difficult? Because you can imagine like different countries have different legislation, and then you have different rules to manage, and then to different climate target goal, like a carbon peak, carbon neutrality goals, and all the decision, all the policy makings are made for the future. It's a really long future. And then nobody can tell what's going to happen like in 30 or 60 years. And then how to do that? I don't think like a traditional economy model is the answer. We definitely need more computer scientists to come, and the physics, well, the different areas, interdiscipline to come to describe like here's agreement that how we describe climate risk properly, and then we go to price the carbon properly. But of course, it's like a really simple answer to saying like if we dig into it, there's so many challenges. And I read a lot of RMI reports. Well, back to what do we do? I think it's a really small step. Like we have to use this tool to make the experts' time like better usage. But data, I think, is oil for climate too. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree. Actually, I would say, can you imagine that for, as you can see, there are thousands of ESG reports in the market published every year. In the past, for some of the listed companies, they need to spend months to prepare the ESG reports. But can you imagine that when you're using generative AI, it only takes 3 minutes for them to generate the ESG reports. So this is really an advancement of technology. So after talking about all these ESG innovative practices, I just want to, before we conclude, I just have a questions for all the three guests here. First of all, is as you know, in our country, in China, we have a carbon peak and carbon neutralization targets. So how can the market, what can the market do to make it happen? So maybe Dr. Lee first.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. This is a wonderful question. How can the market do? At the beginning, you mentioned that RMI is pretty much a market-driven think tank. We believe that market is the driving force behind, especially the systematic and transition of all type in the human history. It's not the policy, it is not even the subsidies. It is always the market help us to achieve, this, big scale systematic change. And you can see, quite a lot of examples in the history, and also in terms of at this stage is climate change, the energy transition we are facing as. So market actually can help us a lot, especially on the most tricky issues. For example, the green premium. They're still very costly when consider the energy transition, the dependency on the certain technologies or productions. So it is still cost like steel, cements, the industry sectors. The green premium can be arranged for 40% to even 80%. So it is, we all know that is not going to fly, right? But how to bring down this cost? We have to rely on the market and market mechanisms in a broader way. When we refer to market, is going to be the supply side, demand side, the whole supply chain, the whole value chain, and the various market mechanisms like the emission trading system that you have seen that the mainland China has been trying to demonstrate it for starting from 2017. That is a very typical market mechanism that the government try to use to avoid tremendous subsidies, which is not going to work. So in China, I think, especially in recent years, it is no longer subsidies the answer that many business people are looking at. It is always what is the innovative business model, which is reflecting the market mechanisms and the power of market, and also various market tools, like including the financial tools, including various carbon footprint control, or even certificate, or even trade-off, various broader ways of market mechanism that we can depend on to collectively bring us to together to address the most tricky issues we're all facing. So just I've just last week I've talked with one of the leading China mobile companies who set a very ambitious zero carbon short-term emission targets, and then turned out the cost is pretty high, is unexpectedly high. So the question to our team when we will have an internal debate is what else I can do to control this cost in order to not fail of my climate targets, but as well as to remain myself as a business, as a company, still not a failure in market way, right? So the answer we are, probably enabled to support is probably the market or various market tools or mechanisms that probably is a way to help you to achieve your targets in a cost-effective way. So the last comments I personally think is very important. In China, we talk about to set up, you heard so many times from the top policymakers to set up the 统一大市场, right? The unified, the broadest market, as broad as we can to establish, to try to maximum the driving force of the market. I think the same thing happened in the global. And we're not, in particular, be very careful of a fragmented, narrow down markets, isolated markets. That is not going to help us, even we are in the name of a market. But we have to rely on respect of the market rules, and also try to, bring the most effective market solutions to help us to achieve what we believe, what we need to achieve. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Li. Yes, exactly. Why I asked what the market can do. Actually, is really ESG, although, of course, the government or the regulators can do lots of things, but actually it's the market who drives everything. And in order to drive them, to increase the effectiveness, definitely we need a unified market system. So, Didi, how about you? So what can the market do more then?
I think I agree with every word that Dr. Li has said. And of course, in mainland China, the A-share listed companies have definitely can have, more resources and motivation to, practice to the zero carbon strategy more actively. And I think maybe in a short time, the policy will change, and the listed company will have to do more. So yeah.
So how about Karen?
I want to give like a statement. Like actually, the private sector participation in climate is a challenge, but they also what we're hoping for. Like historically, it's all NGO, government, public sectors are pushing this climate sector, and now all of a sudden we need private sector. What's the reason? Because we don't have enough money, and no country, nation has enough capital for climate change. So I think the answer is pretty simple: is to participate, but the issue is how. And I mean, we're glad to see there's several things sexist in the past, like EV or like solar. It comes with more challenges, but that's a good example. But we didn't see the failed one. So I think that what the private sector can do, one is, come to Beyond to learn. I mean, the first is I think the leadership should be aware like climate that may be an opportunity, not just a cost item on the balance sheet. And apparently they need education, they need access to participate. And then second is, it depends on sector. There are quite several interesting things, I think. Like one is technologies that only can be built by the private sector. For example, like synthetic biology products, like really innovative materials. Like we saw a lot of cars, EVs over there. And I think a second type is, this might not be 100% true, but I think but like private sector only can succeed to scale technology fast. Especially in China, especially in Greater Bay Area, where now we're located at, have such a mature supply chain to make things happen quickly. And I think in the end, it's not just private sector. It has to be like a collaborations model, and then government may play a role to de-risk. So investor can come, and then like you can create a channel, like can de-risk and then make the cost down. So more people will joining. But I would kind of like want to conclude. I think like the most important thing is that we need more people to work on climate. It's not like a private-public issue.
Thank you. So actually why I asked the final question from a market perspective is that very often when we talk about climate risk, we always talk about climate risk, but actually it is climate risk and opportunities. So we really hope that the market can understand more about what opportunities that the climate change can bring to us. So thank you very much. Thank you all the three guests. Thank you very much.